Okay, so here's part 2 of the coin and value video. So let's change back to black. Moving on to example 4. I have 30 coins. All nickels, dimes, and quarters. Worth $3.80. If I have 8 more nickels, than dimes, how many quarters do I have? So relatively short for these types of problems. Okay, so nickels, dimes, and quarters in my chart. And total. Across the top. I have quantity. I have value of 1. And I have total value. I'm going to use N for nickels, D for dimes, Q for quarters. The value of a nickel is 0.05. Its total value is 0.05 N. Value of a dime is 0.10. Total value is 0.1 D. And for quarters, the value is 0.25. Total value 0.25 Q. It tells me in the first sentence there's 30 coins, so that's the total number in the quantity, and they're worth $3.80. So it looks like I'm ready to solve this problem. I've got 2 equations, one from the quantity, the number of nickels plus the number of dimes plus the number of quarters equals 30, and I have one from the total value column. The problem is I've got 3 unknowns, so that means I need to somehow figure out how to get rid of one of these variables, because I can only solve if I have 2 unknowns. So if you notice in the next equation, or next sentence, excuse me, it says if I have 8 more nickels than dimes, that's going to give me a way to get rid of one of the variables. So from that, remember where we look. The guy who's at the end is the one we're going to do math with. The guy in the beginning is the one who stands alone. So we get to write nickels is equal to 8 more than, so switch your phrase, the dimes, so dimes plus 8. Now I'm going to do a little shifting here. A couple things that I want to take care of. Number one, let's get rid of the decimals in that second equation. So let's do that. And let's take care of a little business in both of these equations. Let's take this expression that represents n and plug it in for n in both locations. So the top equation becomes d plus 8 plus d plus q equals 30. And the next equation, change colors, will be 5 times the quantity d plus 8 plus 10d plus 25q equals 380. So let's go do some simplifying, and we'll shift up our equations up here. So back to the first equation. Now I notice that I have an eighth that I can get onto the other side by subtracting it, combining up like terms. I have 2d plus q equals 22. On the second equation, I distribute, actually I'll do it down here, 5d plus 40 plus 10d plus 25q equals 380. And I can subtract 40 from both sides. So let's see, if 5 and 10 is 15, 15 and 25 is 40. Oh no, I've got, sorry, well, I'll try that again. The dimes are 15d plus 25q equals 340. So, as ugly as this may be, I think what I'm going to do is multiply the top equation by negative 25. I could solve this for q also and use substitution. Might have been a little simpler. So that's going to give me negative 50d minus 25q equals, and then I'm going to have to figure out what 25 times 22 is. So I get 10, 5, placeholder, 10, 5 and 1, no, 4 and 1 is 5. So I get 550 negative. Okay, let's see what we get when we add our equations together. Well, 50 take away 15. Let's see, it's going to give me a negative 35d equals, and then on this one, if I subtract 550, 340, I'm going to get 210, negative 210. So if I divide both sides by negative 35, if I go 6, I think, that gives me what I'm looking for. So that tells me the number of dimes is 6. But remember what the question asked for. It asks for the number of quarters. So let's go ahead and take this answer, and we can plug it back into first here. So I can get the number of nickels is 6 plus 8, or 14. Then I can take that value and the 6 and plug them into the original equation. So n now is 14, d is 6, plus q equals 30. So I get 20 plus q equals 30, subtract 20, and I get q equals 10. So I'm going to put my answer way up here since I have no more room, and my final answer is that I have 10 quarters. Okay? Alright, let's try another one. Susan has 20 coins. Had 20 coins. If she had one fewer penny than dimes, and 3 fewer nickels, than dimes, how much of each coin I'm going to say how many of each coin did she have? And the second one is how much money did she have? So now we have to answer 2 questions. Okay, so this one's going to be a little strange. We've got 20 coins. She has pennies. She has dimes. And they mention nickels. And we're going to put in a total. We have quantity. Value of 1. And total value. I'm going to shorten these up a little bit. Okay, and pennies we're going to use P, dimes D, nickels N. And it said she had 20 coins. And we know that a penny is worth 0.01, so its total value is 0.01p. And we know that dimes are 0.10, so total value is 0.1d. And then we have nickels are 0.05, and total value is 0.05n. Now again, they don't tell me what the total amount of money is, but I do have at least one equation that I can grab out of the chart, which is the quantity one. So we get P plus N, plus D plus N. Okay, then they start talking about the other coins in relationship to dimes again, it seems like. So if you notice who's mentioned last in the first part, if she had one fewer penny than dimes. So dimes is the one that we're going to do math to, and we're going to have one fewer than. So one fewer than. And what is mentioned first is the penny, so that's what goes along. And then we have 3 fewer nickels than dimes, so again, mentioned last are the dimes. So we're going to do math with dimes, and it says fewer than. So take away and 3 fewer than. And then the guy that's alone is the nickels, so it's nickels equals that. Alright, so what we're going to do is substitute in for the pennies and the nickels the values in terms of dimes. And now our equation looks like this. Pennies, which is D minus 1, plus the number of dimes, plus the number of nickels, which is D minus 3, equals 20. I've got one variable. I can solve this. Simplifying, I get 3D minus 4 equals 20. Add 4 to both sides. I'm going to move it up here. I get 3D equals 24, and I divide by 3. So I start with 8 dimes. Next, I substitute that back in over here, and pennies is going to be the number of dimes, take away 1, which would be 7. So that gives me 7 pennies. And then I take it and substitute it in to the nickels, that second equation there, and the number of dimes 8 minus 3 is 5. So I get 5 nickels. So that's answer 1. To get answer 2, I now take these values that I just figured out, and I'm going to plug them in here and get a grand total. So 8 dimes is going to give me 80 cents. And 7 pennies is going to give me 0.07 cents. And 5 nickels is going to give me 25 cents. And if I add that all together, let's see, I get 12, I get $1.12. And that's the second answer I was looking for. So then I'm going to go ahead and have one more for us to work on, and this is more of a one of those buying tickets, and we did two of these already in our first set of notes. So this is our last example. And there were 411 people. At a play. Admission. Oops. Was $5 for adults. And $3.75 for children. The receipts were $1,978.75. How many adults and how many children attended? So just like with coins, we just write down the unknowns. We've got adults, we've got children, we've got total, we have quantity, how many, we've got cost of one, and we have total cost. So value is inherent, whereas cost is something, you get something for your price. So A stands for adult who attended and children. And it says there's 411 people, so that's in the total, under quantity. Admission was $5 for adults, so that's cost of one. $3.75 for children, that's cost for children. So total cost for adults is their product 5A, for children 3.75C. And it says the total amount brought in was $1,978.75. So we've got our two equations. A plus C equals 41. And 5A plus 3.75C equals 1978.75. So again, I don't like the decimals. I'm going to get rid of them, and I need to multiply everything by 100. Making that equation 500A plus 375C equals, 197,875. Oh boy, 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 boy. To take the top equation and to get him to find a match, I think the easiest would be to multiply by negative 500. So we get negative 500A minus 500C equals, let's see, 2 zeros, and then we get a 5, and then we get a 20, all negative. All right, let's go back, because guess what silly teacher forgot again? It's not 41, it's 411. So that's going to change this total here, which it needs to. And I'm going to do the math off to the side, which is going to be 411 times 500. So 0, 0, 5, 5, 20. So it's negative 25,500. That makes more sense, even though that's pretty bad writing right there. There we go. So when I add my two equations, I've forced a best case scenario with the A's. I get negative 125C, and now I'm going to have to rewrite this problem over here. 205,500, 197,875. When I subtract, I I get a 5, I get a 2, I get a 6, I get a 7. So I get negative 7625. Divide by negative 125. And do the math over here. Two negatives are going to make a positive, which is good news because negative would not work here. And 125 is going to go in to 762 6 times. So I get 30, 12, and 3 is 15, and a 7, and I get 125 left over, which is 1 time. So this goes with children. So 61 children attended. And to figure out the number of adults who attended, we're going to just apply this answer to this equation. So we get adults plus 61 equals 411. Subtract 61 from both sides, and we get 350 adults. And there's the answer. And you can always double check by multiplying 350 by 5 and 61 by 375 and verify that it equals $1,978.75. All right, enjoy.